Hey guys, it's that Dividend guy coming at you with another video. So today I wanted to take a look at two stocks that have been reported in the 13F filings of Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway. Now, there's two important things that I do want to address here. One, just because the company buys a stock does not mean that we are. So I do enjoy looking at the moves of Warren Buffett because he's the world's greatest investor. I've done a lot of studying on his discounted cash flow analysis, the fundamentals of businesses. There's a lot that I've learned from Buffett and his books, as well as Peter Lynch and Seth Klarman. So I love watching the moves that he makes because I want to see if I can come to the same conclusion. The second thing is, just because I watch the moves does not mean that I copy them. And the other thing is, too, on like a side note, is just because it says in an article Warren Buffett bought these stocks does not mean that's who actually bought them. Most of the time, he doesn't comment on what he buys and sells. He refuses to at the meetings. So if if he sells 50 billion of Apple, odds are it's probably Buffett doing it. But a lot of these smaller positions, like the ones that they put in like Amazon, or I think it was like Estee Lauder like a couple quarters ago. This one in Pool Corp, or even the other option was Domino's that they bought. It's like $550 million, which that's a shit ton of money to us. But to him, it's a drop in the bucket. He's worth multiple billions of dollars. I think Berkshire might even be a $1 trillion company. So even though it's a lot of money to us, and it is a stupid amount of money, overall, it's not going to be that big of a position. Like when you look at Apple or Bank of America, I think American Express and Coca-Cola, and I think now even Occidental Petroleum is getting up there in his total holdings. These are not going to move the needle very much for Berkshire. And that just comes that comes with being so big. Because Berkshire is such a huge company now, they need to really find elephants like something like Apple or Microsoft to really bump up the needle when it comes to earnings and being able to put their investment dollars in. Because if you look at the cash pile he has, it's like 200 billion, I think. He could buy out a lot of companies on the stock market, just straight up buy them out. He obviously doesn't want to do that, and he likes to buy quality companies, and most of the time high quality companies are not on sale enough for him to buy the whole thing, and he might not want to own the whole thing. He probably doesn't want to run those businesses. They have great management teams as a public company, and he doesn't want to worry about that. But the other thing too is a lot of people, and this is super important, a lot of people will buy a stock because the quote on the article is Warren Buffett's buying it. And just keep in mind, he has Ted and Todd who do some investing as well. So some of the smaller positions aren't Buffett. And a lot of times at the meetings, he will comment and say, just because it says I buy Pool Corp, or just because it says I buy Domino's, doesn't say names of the stocks. He says just because it says I buy something doesn't mean that I actually bought it. He's like, I might have looked into it. I might have given, my investment lieutenants like a look at the company. But a lot of times when it's a smaller investment, it's not even Buffett. So the reason that the articles do this is because they know Buffett is the biggest investor in the world, right? So they know if they put Warren Buffett buys this or that, people are going to look at the article, and then people are going to look at the stock, and it's just going to be like an endless loop. So just keep in mind with your investment dollars, just because Warren Buffett buys or sells something does not mean that you should as an investor. If the company's something that you don't understand fundamentally, if you don't understand the economics of the company, what could and couldn't, bring growth to it, what could drop the stock or slice earnings in half. Those are the things that you really need to understand before you buy a company. So that's something that's so important. It's not about just following somebody, right? I love Peter Lynch, right? I've read all of his books, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm just going to go buy Netflix because he said to buy it. You need to use your own brain. You need to understand these companies and truly understand if they have the growth potential and it's going to pay off. There's a difference between buying Pool Corp at 336 and, last year when it was at $400 a share. Do you understand the difference in earnings between $416 and $301, right? So just because it's lower doesn't mean it's necessarily a buy. It's all about the amount of money that that business will generate for you and how predictable you feel about how those earnings are going to be distributed to you, or how well the company's going to earn them. So first, look at Pool Corp, guys. It engages in the wholesale distribution of swimming pool supplies, equipment, and related leisure products. It also offers non-discretionary pool maintenance products such as chemicals, replacement parts, discretionary products like packaged pool kits, whole goods, irrigation, and landscape products, including a complete line of commercial and residential irrigation products and parts, power equipment, and for the professional landscape market. Specialty products such as outdoor lighting, grills, and outdoor kitchen components, and Gulf irrigation and water management products. The company was founded in 1993 and is headquartered in Los Angeles. And the ticker symbol for Pool is POOL, which is Pool Corporation Common Stock. So guys, just for me, I don't understand the fundamentals of this business. I honestly had never even heard of this business before it was mentioned by Buffett. Now, there actually is a pools, like a water fund type store in my local area. It might be Pool Corp. I am not sure, but I do know that they have like those massive, big, like hexagon pools out front, and it's interesting. I've noticed it. They've got good advertising, but again, it's one of those businesses that I just kind of drive by. I'm like, okay, it's there. I've never looked into it. So, and just overall, just being honest with myself, I don't understand the economics of pools very well, because I live in Iowa. So it's like, honestly, you only would use a pool or outdoor amenity like that maybe 3-4 months out of the year, if you're lucky, like 6. So maybe half the year you could use one. So a pool is not an investment that I've ever really considered. Same with like a hot tub, because we don't live in a place that I think it would thrive. Now, my dad had a hot tub growing up and it was really cool, but again, we didn't use it very often. Or as often as I felt like we should have in order to have a hot tub here. So just for me, I don't understand the economics of the business. I feel like a pool or a hot tub is more of a discretionary thing. Like if you were to tell me what are more people likely to cut out of their budgets when an economic recession happens, Coca-Cola or a fucking pool, they're obviously going to get rid of a pool. And so there's two sides to that. There's one, I don't understand, like I understand that's the first thing to go if I were to compare it to Coca-Cola, but that also might be a great opportunity. It could be just like with oil, with the prices fluctuating, you could really take advantage of an overreaction, but you have to understand the economics of oil and how the price shifts per barrel affect the actual price at Exxon and Chevron and BP and all of the big oil companies. That's a direct correlation. I don't understand how Pool Corp is affected by the overall, like the greater economic crisis or whatever, like the over economy. I don't know how that stock would react. Like, of course, if we have an economic shutdown, like if I look back to 2020, I bet you it tanked. And look at that. Boom, 2020 down to 178. It peaked all the way up to $570, but I don't know what made it drop from 500 to 300. So that's why I wouldn't purchase it personally, just because I can't tell you what shift happened for it to drop from $500 to 300. Now, if you're just looking at the chart, you could say, oh, look, I have like a $200 upside each share. That's great. But again, what's going to propel it to get back to $500 per share? I mean, you could make the easy answer, people are going to buy more pools, but overall you need to be able to foresee the fact that people are going to have enough expendable income for pools and maintenance and whatnot. So again, it's one of those, I don't understand the economics of the business, but just from a sheer price perspective, yeah, I get why he bought it. It looks like you have $250 per share. If you're a millionaire like Buffett, you buy 100 million shares, you could make $2 billion on this trade. So, I mean, that makes sense, but economically, it's not a business that I understand, so I wouldn't personally put money into it. So this is, again, one of those instances where just because a famous investor buys it does not mean I'm purchasing it. I don't understand the economics. I would feel much safer, and I honestly would go through with buying more Coca-Cola or Realty Income or T. Rowe Price versus a Pool Corp. Nothing against the company. I just haven't studied it. That might change if I feel like I could understand the economics of the business, but as of right now, staying away. It's not in my circle of competence, and honestly, I don't think selling something like Coke or Apple is worth buying Pool Corp. I don't think that the quality of the business matches up to the ones that I already own, and that's okay. Next up, though, we've got Domino's Pizza. Now, I literally just about ordered Domino's Pizza a couple nights ago. I chose Pizza Hut instead because their coupons were better. But overall, out of the big three, when it comes to pizza, Domino's, I think for a long time had been the number three. I feel like Papa John's and Pizza Hut did a better job. I feel like they've improved over the past few, like 5 years. I feel like their overall quality, their menu's gotten better. The service is always really good. The delivery is always on time. Like, I don't have any gripes with Domino's. I just prefer Pizza Hut. But I do get why Buffett bought it. It thrived. I mean, if you look at all the businesses that did so poorly during 2020, yeah, it did tank, right? Like everything else did, because economic shutdowns. But they could still deliver pizzas. In fact, they made contactless delivery, which now they just drop it off in front of your house. And they're good to go. So it's at $400 now. But again, I can't tell you what made it go from $564 now down to $435. So I don't understand the economics of pizza very well. But I order it. I mean, I eat it. This is one of those that if I studied it enough, I do think it could be in my circle of competence. And it's done really well over the past 5 years. It's had a 49% return. It does pay a small dividend. If I could get it nearer, like a little bit more near to the $400 mark, I might buy it. So this is different because I honestly don't think I care to learn the economics of a pool corp. Where I eat pizza, I worked at a pizza place for a while, and overall, as it looked like when I looked at the metrics for Domino's, the overall earnings have gone up slightly, but they have. So the difference is, I feel like people are more like, if we're doing a versus Pool Corp versus Domino's Pizza, I'm 100% putting my money in Domino's before I ever put it into Pool Corp, simply because ordering a $25 pizza on the weekend is much more in the wheelhouse of an everyday middle class person, family, versus buying a fucking pool. So overall, if I was in Buffett's shoes, I wouldn't have even put money into Pool Corp unless I really took the time to understand it. I would have put all my money, it's like it was like $550 million into Domino's Pizza, because out of those two, I'd be more comfortable owning Domino's. I understand the business more. I understand pizza delivery. I've made pizzas before. Generally, the big the big expenses are labor and ingredients for pizza. And Domino's is franchised, streamlined, and have a very proven kind of assembly for their overall, like building the pizza to when it gets to the customer. There's not a lot of hiccups in that. They've streamlined it. It's like McDonald's making a Big Mac. It's streamlined. They know what they're doing. They've been doing it for probably close to 50, at least like 60, 70 years. And pizza's not a pool. Like I said, people are more likely to purchase it. So this is one of those that I think economically makes a lot more sense, is a lot more understandable. And I've actually looked at Domino's as an investment. It's just not one of the like 10 to 12 companies that I would like to own. That might change in the future. You can always study more. You can always learn more about companies. And I feel like if I studied it for like a week or two and really dove into the metrics of how much they paid for labor, and how much they sold pizzas for, and how much they could charge for a pizza is the other thing. I feel like when it comes to Coca-Cola, one of the reasons that it is so successful is because they have a brand that allows them to charge a higher premium than, say, something like Pepsi. Like when you go to the store, Coke is always a little bit pricier than Pepsi. And some people might like Pepsi better, so they'll buy that. Or two, they might switch in a hard economic time from Coke to Pepsi because it's a little cheaper. But when it comes to the Papa John's, Domino's, and Pizza Hut, to me, sadly, they feel interchangeable. Because like I said, just last weekend, right? My girlfriend and I were we wanted some pizza, right? It's a weekend for New Year's, actually, we got pizza. So it would have been a couple nights ago. And Pizza Hut had a better deal than Domino's. In fact, the Domino's coupons kind of sucked comparatively to the Papa John's and Pizza Hut coupons. And we have a Papa John's closer to us than we do a Pizza Hut or a Domino's. So I ended up actually getting Pizza Hut simply because the coupon was better, and it was like a 5-minute drive. But again, it to me, versus Pool Corp, Domino's would be a buy. especially if I could get it at a lower price than like $400 a share. But comparatively to something like Coca-Cola or Apple, it's not going to hold, because I feel like the pizza, like delivering pizza in general, when it comes to the big three, is interchangeable, right? Like, you could say Apple versus Samsung, they're both phones, but there's so much more to Apple than just a phone, right? It's an ecosystem. And while I do think Domino's has done better when it comes to ingredients and overall like customer service wise, I still would go to another place. That's part of why I'm iffy on McDonald's or owning Burger King or Tim Hortons or Popeyes or something like that. Restaurants and food in general, people don't generally have the same amount of loyalty that they do to something like a Coca-Cola or a Pepsi, right? Or a Disney, right? It's a good brand, but it's not. It doesn't have what Warren Buffett calls share of mind, right? So to me, there's not much that differentiates Domino's from Pizza Hut. There's a lot that differentiates DreamWorks from Disney, right? There's a lot that differentiates Coke from Dr. Pepper or Pepsi. So that's the difference. Is I feel like Domino's, it's kind of, you could switch to the pizza place like I just did this weekend. Domino's, Pizza Hut, Papa John's, they're pretty much all the same. What is a better deal? Versus I go specifically to the store and get Oreos, which is Mondelez. I specifically go and buy, Kraft Heinz ketchup, or I specifically go and buy, something like Coca-Cola, because I'm brand loyal. So that's really the only hiccup, is even if I understood the economics to a T of Domino's and then in turn Pizza Hut and Papa John's, I don't think the brand loyalty is there enough for me personally. Like, I don't want to purchase a brand that I'm not like in love with and that I don't understand economically. So sometimes if excuse me, even if I don't, even if I'm not super loyal to the brand, like I have no personal affiliation with T. Rowe Price, but I love the business. It's mutual funds. I can understand it. They pay special dividends. I've studied the business. I like it a lot. And I understand the economics of it. So I understand when people pull their money out of T. Rowe Price's mutual funds, that drops, right? The issue is, even though they are good economically, even when, excuse me, even when COVID hit, they were still making money. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if their overall profitability soared because people were just doing more delivery, hands-off delivery, than what they are, say, now. But I just don't think, even though I could understand the economics if I studied and really wanted to own Domino's Pizza, the issue for me, and the reason why I don't think I'd pull the trigger on investing in it, is simply because I feel like it's so interchangeable with the other two big pizza places, the other offerings in the market. So good for Buffett for buying it. Maybe he sees something I don't. Maybe one of his lieutenants sees something that I don't. And they're going to make money on this regardless. I mean, it's Buffett. They'll get dividends from it, even if, the stock price doesn't go up. And I'll be interested to see how long he owns Pool Corp and Domino's. But I'd bet my money on the fact that he's going to own Domino's longer than Pool Corp, simply because I feel like Domino's is an easier business to understand. But also keep in mind, guys, that every investor has a different circle of competence. So he actually might be more bullish on Pool Corp than Domino's, and that's totally fine. So that's why circle of competence is so important when it comes to investing. Buffett has, railways. He has, paint companies. He has, Coca-Cola. He has Dairy Queen. So he has restaurant franchises already baked within Berkshire Hathaway. So Domino's makes sense. He has companies like that. He also has, an RV company. They have a shoe company. So there's so much. He has such a large circle of competence because he's lived for so long and studied businesses for so long that, of course, his reach is going to be further than mine, right? So maybe he sees a difference between Domino's and Papa John's and Pizza Hut that makes Domino's the better player and would make it like a Coca-Cola in his mind. I don't see it for me personally. So guys, let me know what you guys think. Would you guys put $550 million in Pool Corp and Domino's Pizza? And which one would you pick? Would you pick to add Pool Corp or Domino's today in your portfolio? For me, if I had to pick, I'd definitely be picking Domino's. But to me, I would rather own something like Coca-Cola, Pepsi, or Apple, or Visa versus the Domino's Pizza. But With that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. Remember to hit the subscribe button on my channel, That Dividend Guy. Leave a comment down below on what stock you are purchasing right now and which one you would purchase out of these two. Like I said, Domino's Pizza would be it for me. With that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next Warren Buffett update. Take care, guys.